Present here. I hope everyone is doing well and is safe despite the pandemic. I'm Madiha, the landscaping designer as well as the Dubai PR representative of ESTEEM and the moderator for today's seminar. On behalf of my team, I welcome you all to the 10th webinar as part of our seminar series called Symposium. ESTEEM is a solar decathlon society of Heriot Watt University. We participate in the SDME competition held in Dubai by building a smart home to tackle problems of climate change. Our aim through Symposium is to elaborate our field of expertise and provide a learning platform about the technologies, principles, and ideologies involved with Team ESTEEM. We will be having a practical learning interactive segment at the end of the day, at the end of today's seminar, where you can ask any questions related to the topic to our guest speaker. We will be recording the seminar as well, so if you want to refer to it later or show it to your friends, you can see a snippet of it on our social media platforms or ask us for the recording link via email. Also, if everyone could just type in your email IDs at the chat box so we can send the certificates of participation for attending this educational seminar with you, which you can share on your LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and if you could tag us while you do so, it will be great. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our guest speaker for the seminar today, Zuhair Abdul Raouf, Zuhair Abdul Abdul Raouf Ahmed, who will be speaking on environmental impact assessment for engineering projects. Zuhair is studying Master of Sciences Safety, Risk and Reliability Engineering from Heriot Watt University and has a master's degree in Chemical Engineering from University of Khartoum and a Bachelor's of Science in Plastic and Chemical Engineering from Sudan University of Science and Technology. Zuhair is currently working as the Field HSE Officer for Sharif Petroleum Operating Company and has an experience of over 10 years in this field. Zuhair is also the Health and Safety Team Leader for his team. He will be covering topics like EIA screening, scoping, consultation, reporting, and reviewing. You can drop in any questions you might have in the chat box throughout the presentation or raise your virtual hands with the MS Teams feature on your device, and I'm sure Zuhair will be happy to answer them all. Over to you, Zuhair.
Thanks, Maliha, and welcome all. It's my pleasure to present today a topic on environmental impact assessment for engineering projects. We will talk about overview of environmental impact assessment. We will talk about introduction to EIA, EIA screening, then the third step will be EIA scoping, EIA consultation, and impact assessment for EIA, and then at the final we will talk about EIA reporting and reviewing. As you know all, the strategic planning and state planning as general content or starting from the policy, then the state or the government have plans and then also have some programs. Under all this umbrella, the projects came. So there is two kinds of environmental assessment for those criteria. We have SIA, which is Strategic Environmental Impact Analysis, and we have also Environmental Impact Assessment, EIA. So the EIA focus on the project, but the SIA focus on the policy plans and programs. Today we will talk about the EIA, which is a process of evaluating the likely environmental impact of a proposed project or development. While the SIA or the SEA, it is focusing on the, as we talked before, on the plan itself and policies and programs. So the government usually use SIA to identify or to take the decisions on either we could go for those plan or this plan. But EIA used usually to identify either we can go to this project or that project, or it is a useful tool to identify how the deep we can go or inside these projects, or we could not take at all this project. So it is a process, as we said, evaluating the likely of environmental impact of a proposed. The difference between SEA and EIA, it is reflected in this schedule, we have the EIA focusing usually it is a reactive approach, usually used at the end of decision making. As we said, the SIA, rather than that, focus on it is a proactive approach, and it is at earlier stage of the decision making, because at the stage of plans and programs we could use SEA to identify the risk and identify the impact, and then decide about the better plan we could go with. So as introduction to EIA, we need to talk about the EIA purposes. The aim of environmental impact assessment is to protect the environment by ensuring that a local planning authority have good information to take the decision. So the EIA help the local planning authorities to take the right decision while comparing the different projects and while evaluating the project itself. So we could use it as a very useful tool to had a good decision, as we talked before. So we need to know about the benefit of EIA for the state and the benefit to the public. To the state, an investor, it is had efficiency in utilizing natural resources. Also could decrease the project cost in the long run, because we are dealing proactively with the impact. So we could decrease the cost from the first run. And also it is uh, decrease the probability of disaster occurring, and avoid also judiciary liability and processes. Also avoid correction costs, because it is deal with the it is work as a proactive approach. And about the benefits to the public, it is a lot of benefits for actually for the public. It could include the concept of sustainable development, and also make sure the good consultation and good relation between the government and also the owner of projects and the public itself, public themselves. So when we talk about environmental impact assessment, we need to know how we could apply the EIA. So this roadmap talk about the implementation of EIA. It is simple. The owner contact Environmental Impact Authority. The authority conduct screening process. This is the first process in the EIA. Then, if decided to that the project need EIA, then we will go to the other step of hiring consultant body to conduct the EIA. After hiring the CP or the consultant body, the consultant body started immediately on conducting EIA, then deliver EIA report to the owner. The owner by himself take the report and send it to the EIA authority for reviewing and taking decisions. As we talked before, the decision could be either to take this project or could uh, not take it. Sometimes the EIA decision or the EIA authority decision came with to take the decision, but we have some mitigation plan to reduce the impact for the environment. So it is a proactive way when we talk about projects implementation and project applying. We need to know the or predict the impact before the start of project, then have suitable mitigation plans. So when we started with the when the EIA authority started the process of EIA, first step will be the screening. The screening is like to refining the or take the decision about the proposal itself, and also determine what level of EIA is required. As we talked before, we need to take the decision either if there is severe or extreme impact. So maybe the authority decide that to not take the project, but sometimes when they find the impact not very severe, major or minor, they can take the project with a mitigation plan, as we said. So the outcome of screening, full of comprehensive EIA required. Number one, this is one of the outcome of screening. Maybe also the outcome will be we need limited EIA required, or we need further study as environmental examination, initial environmental examination to decide either we need to take the either we need to conduct the environmental impact assessment or not. Also, one of the outcoming of screening is no further requirement for EIA. So this decision usually taken while dealing with project with very minor impact. So sometimes, as we talk, no need for EIA. Sometimes we need to conduct it deeply, and sometimes we need further investigation and further study to determine either the project need EIA or not. After we conduct the screening, now we have the decision. We need to conduct environmental impact assessment. The second step will be the scoping. The scoping is activity within the EIA study process, which aims to identify those components of the biophysical and social environment which may be impacted. So it is by this way we could reduce the cost, reduce the time. We know about what impact exactly we're going to study. We know exactly what impact, what the severe impact we need to focus on during the during the study, and also we during the scoping usually we explain the information about the project as at the beginning, and then also explain the baseline of the environment. What about the baseline? The baseline is the environmental condition for at the beginning of the project. So it is very essential, the baseline of environment of uh, the project area. It is very important because we need to then at the end we need to evaluate the impact of the project activity. So the scoping is one of the important steps on the in the EIA. It is set clear limits on what is to be included or excluded, and also it's list and assign priorities for potential impact and for the evaluation needed for each impact, the degree of evaluation needed for each impact. After conducting scoping, we move to consultation of stakeholders. These very important steps we need we know stakeholders usually consist of individuals, communities, organization, government or a non-government organization. Any party will affect negatively or positively by the project. There are stakeholder. So the stakeholder consultation very important because we need to make a good relationship between the owner and the government and also the people and the public. Also, we need to take information from them and also give them information about the project, the impact, because they will impact it by these activities. So we need to consult them at the first of the project at the first steps. Then we move to the essential and significant step of the EIA, which is impact assessment. The impact is a response to a factor, action, or activity, pressure, like this. This is the ecosystem, and this is the pressure, the activity of human being, the project itself, construction, operation, and so on. Then we have the impact. So it is, as we can define it, it is sometimes change or reduction of a change or prevention of a change in the ecosystem. Ecosystem is a very balanced system from the God. It came like this. So any change in this ecosystem could have adverse impact or positive impact. Our roles here in impact assessment to predict the impact and identify the impact, uh, to uh, identify then the suitable mitigation measures for those impact. So the impact characteristics and significance can vary in different scopes. The nature of impact is vary from direct impact or indirect, magnitude of the impact, severe, moderate, like this, extent, location, because there is some impact have specific volume, and distribution is vary from impact to another. So we need to know the extent, location, the timing during the construction phase, operation phase, during the project phases generally, we need to know about it. Probability of impact, likely to occur, unlikely, like this. Duration, it is about long-term, short-term, continuous impact, and so on. Reversibility and irreversibility, we could take an example of reversible impact, such as an adverse effect that decrease when exposure to a toxic chemical stops. When this stops, then the impact reverse to the normal state. So it is we could call it reversible impact. Spatial significance, like the local, regional, and global. We can take the acid rain as example, because acid rain usually had a regional impact. It could the emission could happen in area, and the impact could happen in another region. So we need to know about spatial significance. About example of direct and indirect impact, we could, it is very direct, it is very clear activity cause some impact. Emission, like emission of toxic gases, have impact in the bird and the nest of bird and so on. It is a direct impact. Indirect impact, that's like acid rain. We could take some example here for indirect impact. Fossil fuel, the emission of fossil fuel could have impact of pollution of air. Then acid rain could be formulated by chemical reaction. We could have H2SO4 or HNO3. So this acidic component could react and could react with the air and could precipitate in the environment, causing wet deposition for the for the trees and like this. So this could eventually lead to death of trees and vegetation. So the dying of trees and affecting the vegetation could be an indirect impact of the emission of fossil fuel. Then we need to know also about the impact assessment, because we need to, at the report of the EIA, we need to identify some impact, and also identify all the impact and assess those impact. Like this schedule, we have we have the environmental aspect like air quality as example. we take the some one phase as site preparation as example. Then we evaluate the impact on the site preparation of a project. Could be site clearance, excavation, vehicles. This is the activity of excavation could lead to some movement or machinery's movement, or the activity of machinery movement could lead to dust and noise. This is the impact. So we need to know about the impact attribute, like the if it is local or regional, like this L mean local here. If it is we need to know about also if it is direct impact or indirect impact. We need to know the different about the different attributes of the impact. So usually, as we can see here, there is some attribute we need to assess the impact depending on this attribute. See, usually refer to cumulative impact, and also here impact rating, talking about the severity of the impact. This is high, medium, or low. Depending on this rating, we could decide about the mitigation, the suitable mitigation measures. At the end, we need also to know there is some methods of environmental impact identification, method like ad hoc, checklist, matrix, overlays, and networks. Usually ad hoc checklist, similar. It is used for deciding about a list of impact, and it is good for site selection and so on. And also we had matrix. Matrix have a lot of advantage, like it is a link action to impact, and also displaying the EIA result perfectly. So it is I really enjoy to use matrix method in evaluating the impact for the project contain a very major impact and so on. And because it is also have it is very clear on description of the impact, and could give you a good overview for the impact. But we can also check, there is other method like overlays. It is used a map for discussion, for describing the impact, and now there is some improvement in this method like GIS methods and so on. So if we take the network method as example, one of the examples, we could see here the land modification uh, this activity could lead to change in drainage system as example, this direct impact, then change in flora composition, this is indirect impact of land modification, that this could lead to grazers decreases and eventually lead to attack of domestic animals. This is one of the example of how we could link the impacts together. And so this method is very useful to describe the direct and indirect impact as general. We could take also the matrix one. Here we could talk about the phase, the project phase, like example construction. There is different criteria like air quality, wildlife, surface water. We could take example of air quality during digging. We could have some negative adverse impact of air quality, some toxic release of the machinery use, and also the impact. We need to assess the impact from 0 to 5 as example, and also we need to identify also the continuously of the impact. So usually we use this method for evaluating the general evaluating the impact in a lot of projects like oil and gas and so on. It is depends on the assessor itself. He could take the best method he could use for assessing the impact. At the end, we need to make the EIA report. The report should be actionable, decision relevant, and also user friendly. We need to collect all those data to make our final report, then send it to the EIA authority to decide about the project. So all this, as we talked before, it is uh, applied by the consultant body. All these steps after screening, like scoping, consultation of public, and also the impact assessment itself, and then preparing the report. It is the responsibility of the EIA consultant body. The consultant body at the end make the report by ensuring some executive summary, need for and aims of the proposal, description of proposal, description of affected environmental and community, public consultation results, main impact, and also evaluation significant residual impacts. And at the end, we need also to, the consultant body need to make some environmental management plan. This plan should include the mitigation measures and so on. This is an example of a real life report conducted depending on conducted EIA conducted for the oil and gas project for our site. It is just here we share the content, summary, introduction, project description, what about the project itself, the legal environmental framework, and also the baseline should be measured here, should be measured and should be mentioned here, because as we talked before, we need to evaluate the impact after this baseline, after the activities of project going on. So we need to refer to this baseline. And then the consultation here, we find also the assessment of expected environmental impacts, and then propose mitigation measures, and sometimes added qualitative risk assessment. At the end, we will find the environmental management and mitigation plan. Thank you for attending, and that's all from my side. If any question, I'm happy to answer. Thanks a lot. Yeah, Madiha.
Yeah, that was indeed a very descriptive and informative presentation. To optimize the project potential in order to yield good results, it's like really important to conduct an EIA to to ensure the project is sustainable. So thank you so much for shedding some light on that through this useful presentation today. Right, so moving on to the question answers session now. We have received a couple of questions in the registration forms, which I'd like to ask you, Zuhair. At the same time, anyone from the attendees can also ask questions by raising your virtual hand or typing it in the chat box. So the first question is, what are the factors affecting EIA?
Actually, it's a very important question and also very big question, because a lot of factors could affect EIA, like the consultant body itself. If the consultant body is competent, could affect the EIA positively, and if the EIA consultant body not very competent, the EIA report could be affected. Also, we could move to the next step, the screening. If the screening not applied very by competent way, so could lead to elimination or stopping some essential project. It is a very significant decision. So the authority itself decision could affect, or the competence of the authority itself could affect the EIA, and also very essential effect could be from the consultation. Because if the consultation steps conducted perfectly, so we know about the socio-economic effect of the project itself. But if it is not very deep, sometimes they did it very quickly and not focusing on the consultation of people and not hearing from them, so it's could affect. Another also factor could be the time, because sometimes the time very limited, so they conduct the EIA very quickly, so the result will be not very accurate. That's briefly.
All right, that was perfectly answered. So
Yeah.
our second question is, what do you believe is essential for in an EIA, in your opinion?
The essential steps.
Or like, what is the best method for like environmental impact assessment?
Yeah. For evaluating the impact, I do use usually the matrix method, because it is usually linked the impact with the activity itself, and also the matrix give you some space to talk about the relation of impact together, and so on. So I do recommend to use matrix one, also because it is good for displaying the results. So it is very recommended by me, but it is depends on the this in the impact the evaluate body, or the consultant body, to take the best method for evaluating the impact. Yeah.
Right, right. So, has environmental impact assessment contributed like enough to the protection of our environment? Like, could you like give us like a live example for that?
Yeah, actually, at the oil and gas field, I can take it as example. There is some mitigation plan lead to know about what exactly we could focus on during the project, because they during the EIA they take all information about the baseline of fauna, flora, anything about the area itself. So when you compare it to the activity, or the environment after or during the project, you could usually we you will take quick action, and also proactively you can take the suitable action to avoid and to mitigate the impact. So it is very helpful actually. And also there is some international cases of stopping some project could lead to very adverse impact to the rivers itself, and so on. So, and also for the weather, for the acid rain causing, and so on. So it is very effective way we could use it to reduce impact, and also reduce the cost, as we said before.
Yeah, thank you for answering that question. Also, coming to our last question for the session, any advice that you would like to give to someone conducting an EIA, and what are the challenges did you like? What are the challenges you faced while conducting an EIA as a health officer on field?
Actually, the real challenge when you consulting the public, because sometimes public didn't have a real information about the impact and about the environment, so they sometimes make some complaints, and so you need to listen to them. You need actually I need to mention that the EIA didn't conducted by one person, could not conducted by one disciplinary. It is multidisciplinary approach. So need a multidisciplinary teams So usually there is some one expert in geology, one in the air, and one in the fauna flora, like this. So the team need to be very patient and listen carefully to the people, and sometimes you get some very significant important for significant information from the local and from the public. So I do advise anybody to listen very carefully to the public and be patient.
Thank you for that. That was really helpful, sir. Anyone else would like to ask any questions to Zuhair? The floor is open to ask questions. Right. I believe there are no questions, and we can move forward. Right. Okay. So after this seminar, I'm sure all of us have learned something new and useful today, especially about the efficiency and safety necessary during a project. I would also like to thank all the attendees for taking some time out to come today. So if everyone could just turn on their cameras, I would just like to take a screenshot for our social media. If you all could just switch on the camera. Um, I think that's it. Bye. Oh wait, I didn't finish, Chloe. Thank you. Right. Okay, thank you so much for that. Also, our crowdfunding page is now live. So if you'd like to donate any amount to our to help our team build a sustainable home, we will be grateful to you. I'm sharing the link for our crowdfunding website on the chat box after this. So kindly follow our Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter to get updates on the upcoming events, seminars, and details about ESTEEM. We are Team ESTEEM, and we hope you enjoyed our today's seminar. With the COVID relaxations coming in, I hope you get to enjoy the summer. I hope you get to enjoy the summer and take care. And thank you all once. And thank you all for joining in today. Thank you.
Thanks all. See you.